thought I met the best man on the planet back in 2000. So fast forward to July of 2007, I thought I married my Prince Charming. But after the honeymoon, up until July of 2007, I don't remember a whole lot because it was very traumatic. So let's go to July 2007, 3 years later. I was 33 years old, and I call that my Jesus Christ year, like my crucifixion year. I just felt like I was being crucified, like just everything kind of went wrong for me during that time. So, July 2007, my husband was out of town on a business trip, and I woke up one morning and I said, I can't do this anymore. I gotta, he's out of town, he was supposed to be coming back that day. I was like, I'm just gonna pack my stuff as much as I can and go stay with a friend. And I'm like hesitant, going back and forth, like, no, you need to give him an explanation. So he calls, 30 minutes later, he's like, I'm at the airport, I came home, I've got an early flight, come pick me up. So I was like, okay. Packed a suitcase, put it in the back seat. I said, when he gets in the car, I'll just let him know, hey, I'm gonna drop you off at home, I can't do this anymore. So, I pick him up from the airport, he gets in the car, and he's like, why do you have a suitcase in the back seat? And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of the abuse. I'm just tired. I can't do it. I'm gonna go stay with a friend. He said, bitch, if you leave me, I will kill you. So I'm driving on 85, going 85 south. And I think he hit me because I kind of went out a little bit, hit me inside the head, and grabbed the steering wheel and was like literally trying to force us to have an accident. So somehow I was able to pull over to the median or on the side of the road, and he just began to hit me until I was pretty much unconscious. I don't even remember how I got on the passenger side. When I came back, I was on the passenger side, and he was getting ready to take off, and I was like trying to get out of the passenger door, and he like kept punching my hand. Every time I tried to open the door, he would hit it and hit the lock. He would hit my hand, and my finger is still, if I touch it a certain way, it kind of hurts. So I tried to fight him back. I was trying to get his hands off of the steering wheel so that he couldn't pull off, and I don't know what happened. He hit me so hard, I blanked out, and before I knew it, it was like I had an out-of-body experience. I was looking at myself in the middle of the highway, and cars were coming, swerving around me, and I said, I looked at myself and said, Tamiko, get up. This car is about to hit you. And I got up, and there were just cars, beep, blowing the horns, and there was blood. I didn't know how I got out. I didn't know how I got in the middle of the highway. So I'm walking, kind of delirious. There was a couple that had pulled over, and they were like, we just called the police. And so he's on the side of the road like, bitch, get your ass in the car so we can go home. And I didn't have on a shirt. All I had on was a bra and a pair of black slacks. I don't even know how my shirt came off. Maybe 2 minutes, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got to that point. So I'm trying to walk away from him, and I couldn't close my mouth. So apparently he hit me in the mouth so hard that my tooth was pushed all the way back to the roof of my mouth. And so there's not a nerve, so my tooth is kind of discolored. So sometimes when I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I remember that. It's like for me, it's like a battle scar, but it means that I survived because I have a battle scar. So sometimes I won't smile all the way because I feel like, oh, my tooth is, So that happened. The police came, they took him to jail. So let's fast forward to, I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'm giving you the short version of this story. So we fast forward to August 9th of 2009. I remember this day. I was sitting in church, and I was still wounded. I was still mentally wounded. The physical wounds had healed, but I was just mentally and spiritually wounded. And I remember being on the altar at church and just crying out like, God, why did this have to happen to me? Like, why did I have to go through all this pain? Why did he have to hurt me? And as soon as I said that, and I stood up from the altar, you ever go to church and you feel like they're talking to you, and the pastor said he did it for your good. And I was like, what? Like, that's the first thing I said, he did it for your good. I'm like, what do you mean for your good? So yesterday I was trying to remember the scripture, all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And that's what the sermon was about. And he was like, there is purpose in your pain. You are called to do something purposeful. And then he said, that man didn't beat you. And he wasn't really talking to me. I felt like maybe he was talking to the audience in general, but it set in me. And he said, he didn't allow you to escape that abusive relationship just so that you can say, oh, I got out, and just keep going on with your life. It's your responsibility to help other women. So I'm like, oh my God, I found my purpose. I'm like, I'm supposed to help other women. So then I'm like, well, how am I supposed to find these women? And, where am I supposed to get them from? And am I supposed to start an organization? I'm like, okay, can somebody direct me? I don't know what to do. So later on that year, I went through a cleansing process, a whole healing process, and at that point, I knew I was ready. So I started back dating, so I go on this blind date. Get to the blind date, I'm like, okay, I don't like him. So we're sitting there, I'm like, I'm gonna be cordial, we're having a conversation. I told him a little bit about what I had gone through. He's like, he started telling me about some things he had gone through. He had gotten robbed a few weeks prior to that, and he stood up and he said, you know what? We've been through a lot, but we're still standing. And I was like, that's it. That's the name of the organization. Still Standing. Great. So, yes. So that's how I got the name of the organization. He's my Facebook friend now, so he'll inbox me every now and then. And he's like, I see you still standing. And I'm like, that's right. So I gave you the short version of the story. It's Wounds to Wisdom and Still Standing. That is what my book is going to be called. So there'll be more juicier details. Still Standing is where I am now. That is the name of my nonprofit organization, the Still Standing Foundation. Our mission is to empower victims of domestic violence to become survivors, to take them out of the victim mentality and show them how to be a survivor so that they don't repeat the same cycle over and over again. And so, Wounds to Wisdom and Still Standing.